Alright, I want to talk about the video that I uploaded today. I filmed it last night, but then I, split it up into 6 parts and then molded it together via youtube.com/editor, which I use frequently. But it was a video about Heidegger in his 4th chapter of his first edition of Being in Time. It was about the who and the they and the being with of the Dasein. Excuse me. And basically, what was brought up in that video was everything within that whole chapter, and I just kind of it was about an hour and 20-minute long video. So if you want like in-depth, nitty-gritty analysis and discussion of the 4th chapter of the first edition of Heidegger's Being in Time. But here I just kind of want to talk about and think about the problem of the self and the other. Excuse me. If you are going to go in the hermeneutic phenomenology direction, or in the hermeneutic direction, you can read Paul Ricoeur's Oneself as another, but that is not really my cup of tea. That's not, really mine. I own it, and I have read parts of it, but it's just not really the way I plan on becoming a professional phenomenologist. But that's the way Paul Ricoeur does phenomenology is not really the way I plan on doing phenomenology. I don't plan on going down the hermeneutic, range. I plan on going down more of the deconstructive range, but I just kind of want to talk about this little issue. Heidegger seems to think from that chapter, he seems to think that given Dasein and being with, there is always being with. It doesn't matter if you were going to be indifferent or a deficient mode of being with. It's like if you're going to, engage. Heidegger uses the word solicitude, which is care with respect to others. But essentially, I'm drinking a little bit of a lakefront beer. Anyway, essentially, he says that it doesn't matter if you're going to engage with the others, but it doesn't matter. Dasein is always being with. The being of Dasein is being with, and what just so happens is the fact that we, as Dasein, do things, and we recognize other beings besides oneself's Dasein doing the same thing, and we pick those beings out from Dasein, and pick those things out as different from present at hand and ready to hand. So, let's say we are all Dasein. Dasein is, in each case, mine, and mine as in it's yours too. But and in this being in the world, we encounter beings present at hand, which is basically like if I were to be using a pencil and then break it and then not be able to use it anymore, and I'd just be staring at it, and I have no use for it. That's present at hand. It's there, and then we have ready to hand, which is like the use of a bottle opener, for instance. In Heidegger in chapter 3 on worldhood uses the example of a hammer. We understand a hammer with respect to its potentiality of hammering a nail into wood or hammering something. We understand it in virtue of that. And those two things, the present at hand and the ready to hand, are the way that we encounter beings in the world. And the others are freed from the world by way of Dasein, myself, you, or whatever. Let's say just me. I recognize that I do certain things, and I see similar things being done by other beings besides myself, and I pick those things out as others. And Heidegger says that frees the other from the world, and so essentially, and then he also says everyone is no one is himself, and I forget the quote. I missed the book here. I can't remember what that quote I wanted to say is. I don't really remember. Huh. No. Huh. Excuse me. Everyone is the other, and no one is himself. Okay. So what we have here is this fact that we are similar to other, we are just like the other, and we have this issue as to what is prior, self or other, or is other prior to self? So this is the question. And Heidegger says that Heidegger seems to give the idea that, we have the they self and we have the authentic self, and he seems to say that the they self is more prior, because essentially what he's saying, to put it very loosely and very briefly, what we think and the way we judge things is given from the outside. How we feel about things and the way we judge things is given from the outside of us. Okay, so, and then he gives the idea of he kind of talks about how in the latter part he says, who is the who of Dasein? And he comes to the conclusion that it is nobody, because even though everything that the way that oneself judges, the way that one judges something or believes in something, comes from the outside, there is a distantiality, which is a way in which we want to distinguish ourselves from the others, on averageness, and a leveling down, which is basically a talking down kind of, secret losing its force for one. Getting to the heart of the matter is never an option, because things are talked down from the way they are. This overall is a publicness which obstructs getting to the heart of the matter of the they. And we have a constancy, which is all these things: a combination, distantiality, leveling down, averageness, publicness. And from that, we don't really identify where all these things are coming from. Thus Heidegger concludes that the who is the who of Dasein? Nobody. If you want a better explanation of that, I can do that. But essentially, since everything comes inward, it's all a big other, since of this obstruction, this publicness, and this constancy, where does this come from? And the big question is, what is prior? What is prior? Self or other? And I think it's obvious that self is not prior. If self was prior, we would not share being with. The being with, as a unity of being, would not exist. Like I said, there's a negative mode, just a indifference, or passing over of all other, or there is positive ways of being with, or positive solicitude, which is a leaping in or a leaping which is a leaping in or a leaping ahead of. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If we're engaging with the others in what Buber would call a I thou or a I it. It doesn't matter. It's always a being with. And I think if you read the 4th chapter of this book, you will kind of understand what he's saying, and you will kind of get an idea as to how the other is prior. And I would have to agree that the other is prior. And we can have our little authentic, offshoots. We can be authentic in some ways or others. We can end up as authentic. We can be our own way. We can go our own way and do our own unique thing. But that does not change in any way, shape, or form the fact that we are all being with, and the reason I think that we would ever come to be authentic self is from the outside. The only way we can be our unique self is by way of what is not unique. And even the logical conception of self and the logical conception of other, you can kind of turn the concept of other inside out into self, and turn the concept of self inside out into other. If you're going to be a deconstructionist, you can go the deconstructionist route and deconstructively turn these concepts inside out, because it is possible with any kind of thing. But I think it's very obvious that the other is most likely prior, and yet the self is prior. I think I'm going to take the deconstructive stance and say that both are prior and neither is prior, because the self is the other, and the other is the self.